As difficult as it may be to accept, and in spite of everything, a lot of Republicans are just not that radical. There are a lot of Republicans who are racist, are homophobic, are transphobic, but you could go and talk to them as a black person or a brown person or a gay person or a trans person, and a lot of them would be bigoted, sure. But a lot of them would also have a weirdly laissez-faire attitude towards you specifically, because really, they may be stupidly moved about through dog whistles and general statements made by pundits or politicians. They might abstractly fear the border or MS-13 or trans groomers, but these are political abstractions. In a real and direct interpersonal sense, a lot of these voters are just a lot more chill than you would think. Again, not trying to defend them. Like I said, dumb animals is a compliment because the other bad thing they could be is maliciously fascist, right? I'm being charitable here with the dumb animal bit, you know? The problem here is that the Republican Party is controlled and funded by the more radical lunatics, and there are limits to how far you can push the disproportionately chill conservative and independent base in this country when you're making an effort to cater to the interests of the radicals. There are limits to that. Then what's driving it so hard if not even their constituents agree with it? The radicals. The Republican Party is led and controlled by disproportionately radical far-right people. You know, they have the opposite thing going on to the Democrats. The average Democrat voter is in a lot of ways to the left of the constituents they voted to office. Liberals in office are more moderate than a lot of the people who vote for them. And you have the opposite effect with the Republicans, where the average Republican who gets elected in might be significantly more radical than the people who vote them in. People always make comparisons to Weimar Germany. Do you want to know a little tidbit about Weimar Germany? Okay. Maybe Berlin had some areas that were thought of as being super progressive, but saying that all of Germany under the Weimar Republic was progressive would have been like going to Harlem in the 1920s and saying, wow, black people in America really have been socially incorporated. Berlin was largely an exception as a very urban, progressive, and generally academic space. The average opinion of the average German back in 1931 or whatever, as was the case for many European white people, would have been jaw-droppingly racist and anti-Semitic in today to us. Like, it's not like they were a bunch of progressives that all got corrupted by Nazism. Hitler was, got a controversial take I'm going to throw out here, I hope you agree, a bad guy, and his rhetoric and his actions and his policies were radical, absolutely, but he took advantage of largely pre-existing social trends. In America today, is there anti-Semitism? Yeah, and there's a lot of alt-right shit. But if you look around, like America broadly today, do you think that like 40% of the American population is in a position where they could be motivated to genuine Nazi levels of fervor? I don't think so. Look, the Republicans have been losing on the trans front. The Republicans have been insanely loud and consistent on anti-trans, culture war bullshit, and it's been doing terribly for them electorally. I'm not saying reactionaries don't exist. I'm saying that in terms of both their frequency and severity, the reactionary streak in this country is incomparably weaker than the other examples that you might defer to. Very often when we see these hard turns to the right, especially nowadays, what we're really seeing is a small but radical portion of the population succeed in luring the majority moderate conservative base to their side, while liberals and leftists are either weak or have been sort of like drawn apart for various reasons. And then where do they go with that? Like, where has the rising tide of fascism actually gone? My theory is, on average, the far right is a lot more mobilized and militant when it comes to gaining electorally, because unlike the far left, the far right fantasizes about the power of the state, whereas the far left fantasizes about the abolition of the state, meaning that the far left, in many cases, deliberately maintains a policy of anemic weakness when it comes to, any potential opportunity to meaningfully exercise power. So the far right is disproportionately successful, as they have been in the United States. But if the population that you're taking control of is still generally progressive, how much can you actually do? I'm not saying they can't make life worse. They can. I just don't think it's like a Hitler 2 situation. Does everyone get what I'm saying? This is why I'm just tired of people asking me, what's going to happen here? What's going to happen here? I don't know. Maybe the worst versions of stuff can happen, Maybe everything gets really, really bad. But you cannot ignore the fact that by basically all polling data in the United States, at least, there would not be some public rising tide of support. The average American wants to grill. The average American doesn't want even the average suburbanite white racist doesn't want to go outside and lead a pogrom against their gay and brown neighbors. They don't. There's not a fervor for violence here. So maybe everything goes poorly, but I just don't want people to think that that would be a turning point and everyone would just be ratting people out like you've got Jews in cellars in it's 1939. I just don't think that's the case. I think that a lot of you would really benefit from going outside. And in fact, genuinely, you know what? I'm actually committing to it. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say, I think that a majority of you would benefit from making a day trip, a road trip, to go to a local small town and try to talk to some people there. I'm actually not kidding. This isn't a bit. I mean it. If you get the chance on a weekend or whatever else, go with a friend or on your own, whatever. If you can drive, take the bus. Somewhere near you, there is a relatively rural town. It might be next to a freeway. Maybe you drive out 20 minutes. You can usually find them pretty quick after leaving the center of any town. All of you are near a community like this. And that community will have bars, diners. It'll have places where people congregate. I want you to go there, okay? And I want you to just to drive out 30 minutes. Not a big deal, You don't have to get a hotel room. I'm just saying go out there. And I want you to go to any kind of vaguely popular bar, restaurant, whatever. And I want you to just talk to people. Be friendly to people. You only have to do it once. Maybe the people there come across kind of insufferable or you don't get along or have much to say. That's fine. Obviously, I don't ask you to do anything that you feel compromises your safety. I don't think that's a concern for most of you. If there's some specific scenario where you think it is more of a concern, go ahead. The more rural, the better, as long as there's a decent congregation of people. Go there and talk to folks, okay? Because I want you to understand, no matter how bad the politics are in the abstract and how demonic the politicians are, people are people are people. And when I said earlier that the median racist in America is some fat-necked white guy who's terrified of MS-13 coming up from the border, but also loves his Mexican neighbor, I meant it. We actually have a remarkably accepting demographic nationally. America is uniquely okay with immigrants. Seriously, take a look at polling. American acceptance of people from other countries versus any European country. Any other country in the world, we stack up really highly. And that's because part of it is American hospitality being considered a default virtue. We are a very friendly people. Part of it is the fact that we think of ourselves as a nation of immigrants. Even racists think that, by the way. That's one of the reasons why they go that distinction between legal immigration and illegal. Even if all the immigrants are legal, this is a nation of immigrants, right? Go to a place like that.